before I start today, just to make something clear, one of the characters is called Shelter, and we don't know much about Shelter. And the other is the 17-year-old young lad called Link, who we're learning more and more about as we go on. So the story is told by two protagonists, or two main characters, and narrated by both. One is Shelter and one is Link. So hopefully that will make things a little bit clearer. Okay, let's carry on from where we left off yesterday. I didn't come to London straight away. I may be homeless and unemployed, but I'm not stupid. I'd read about London. I knew the streets down here weren't paved with gold. I knew there were hundreds of people, thousands in fact, sleeping rough and begging for coppers. But that's just the point, see. In Bradford, I stuck out like a sore thumb because there weren't many of us. The police down here have got used to seeing kids kipping in doorways, and mostly they leave you alone. In Bradford, I was getting moved on every hour or so. I was getting no sleep at all, and practically no money. People up there haven't got used to beggars yet. They're embarrassed. They'll make large detours to avoid passing close to you. And if somebody does come within earshot and you ask for change, they look startled and hurry on. Also, I kept seeing people I knew, neighbours, guys I'd been at school with. I even saw one of my teachers once. And if you've never been caught begging by someone you knew before, you can't possibly know how low it makes you feel. I wasn't out every night back then. That was the good thing about it. Once or twice a week, I'd show up for my sisters for a bath, a meal and a decent night's kit. Trouble was, I was getting scruffier and scruffier, which happens if you sleep in your clothes. And Chris, Carol's fella, got resentful of my visits. He didn't actually say anything to me, but I could see it in his eyes and hear it in his tone of voice. And I knew Carol must be catching hell from him every time I'd been there. So, what with one thing and another, I decided it was time to move on. Sounds good, right? Time to move on. Reminds you of all those old songs about the restless character who hates to stay too long in one place. He meets a girl who falls in love with him, but after a while he hears the old highway calling, and so he slings his bedroll over his shoulder and moves on, leaving the girl to grieve. Dead romantic, eh? Forget it. Sad is what it is. Sad and scary. You're leaving a place you know and heading into the unknown, and nothing to protect you. No money, no prospect of work, no address where folks will make you welcome. You're going to find yourself living among hard, violent people, some of whom are deranged. You're going to be at risk every minute, day and night, especially night. There are guys so desperate, so crazy, they'll knife you or batter your head in for your sleeping bag and the coppers you've got in your pocket. There are some who try to get you in your sleeping bag with you because you're a nice-looking lad with soft skin and no stubble. And there's nowhere you can run to because nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. You're just another dosser. One dosser more or less makes no difference. Daily routine orders 3. I've been out tonight. I took the tube down Charing Cross and walked about a bit. Tour of inspection, you might say. And I found them, as I known I would. Hundreds of the scruffy blighters lying around making the place look manky. I marched along the Strand and there they were, dossing in all the doorways, even Lloyd's Bank and the law courts. One cheeky little bugger, couldn't have been more than 17, actually asked me for money. Have you got any change, he says. I looked him up and down and I said, change? I'd change you, my lad, if I had you in khaki for 6 weeks. He didn't go in though. He just smiled and said, have a nice night. Crack her up his bum, that's what he wants. That'll wake him up. That or 6 weeks in Strensall. National service, that was the thing. It brought 'em all in. The Teds, the Rockers, the Mammy's boys, and it changed them. By golly, it changed them. In 6 weeks, there were no Teddy boys on that passing out parade, I can tell you, and no Rockers neither. Soldiers, that's what it made of 'em. There were no exceptions. And that was my mission in life. To turn dirty, scruffy, pimply youths into soldiers, into men. And I did it too. Year after year. Yes. And what thanks do I get? I'll tell you. They chuck me out. 29 years service, and they turn around and they chuck me out. Medical grounds, it says on the slip. Discharged on medical grounds. And there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing. I'm 47 and I'm fit as a butcher's dog. Medical grounds is just an excuse, of course. I know why they really chucked me out. They chucked me out because their mission in life is exactly the opposite of mine. They think I don't know that, but I do. They're all part of the plot, see? There's a plot. It's been hatching a long time now to undermine the country by clogging it up with dossers and junkies and drunks. Some of the top politicians are in on it, and civil servants and social workers and even the church. They want to flood the country with winos and crims and down and outs and drag it down till it's no better than some of the filthy holes I've served in all these years. They're powerful, and they'll stop at nothing. What's the career of one sergeant major to them? Nothing, that's what, nothing! They're not going to stop me though. Oh no. They abolished national service and they've put me where I can't turn garbage into men anymore. But I can clean up the garbage, can't I? They can't stop me doing that. And I will. By golly, I will. Till tomorrow.